My name is Sara Gorelick from North Belmore, Long Island, where I have lived for the last 28 years. I came to the United States from Nice, France in December 1948. The reason I wanted to film this video today was to acknowledge the help and courage of a number of non-Jews who played a crucial role in the survival of my family during the Holocaust. In March 1939, we arrived in Nice from Gdansk, now Poland, then known as Danzig, a free city in which German was spoken. My parents had tried to immigrate to the United States when my mother had a sister living in Boston, but the quota was so restricted that our turn never came. Since my grandparents had left for France a year earlier, my parents decided to join them at the very last minute, traveling by train with my 2-month-old brother and myself. My grandfather, Oliver Shalom, Dr. Bernard Rosenbaum, had been a lawyer in Danzig, as well as the vice president of the Jewish community. In the 30s, he had voluntarily served as the legal advisor for an international order of nuns by the name of the Sisters of the Good Shepherd. Before he left Danzig in November 1938, a letter of recommendation was sent on his behalf to the sister convent in Cannes. Upon his arrival in Nice, a delegation from the convent came to greet him with offerings of help to our family should we ever require it. A connection was thereby forged between our family and the convent, which was to play such an important role in all of our survival. My grandfather died in his 60s in October 1940. My parents left for Paris, where my father worked as an engineer for Ford Air, but soon thereafter was rounded up and taken to a French camp for foreigners. Due to my mother, Oliver Shalom's, contacting of a former French consul who had resided in Danzig, my father was released and we returned to Nice. However, in July 1942, the French police, in cooperation with the Germans and the Vichy government, started to deport Jews like ourselves who were not French citizens. When first hearing of this frightening turn of events, my family did not know what to do. But my father, ever the practical engineer, stuffed a handkerchief behind the front door bell so it would not ring. That night, the police came, but only my father heard them. The rest of the family did not wake up. When there was no answer to their bell ringing, the police left without forcing the door open. Luckily, when they asked the concierge downstairs if the Rosenbaums were home, he merely shrugged and said he did not know. But now, the family realized that our apartment was no longer safe and that we would have to go into hiding. The first hiding place for my parents and 2 aunts was the attic of our apartment building. At this point, 2 non-Jews came to their rescue. The woman who lived on the top floor, Madame Pinchot, offered to let them use her toilet when no one was home and to safeguard all our documents and important papers. But Madame Cuccaroni, our housekeeper, played a major role in their survival. She brought the family food and all other life necessities. During this time, my grandmother, Allah Shalom, brother, and myself were hidden in the home of a kind, non-Jewish friend of the family. After our 6 weeks in hiding, the Italians took over the area and dispersed the Jews to various small towns in southern France. We were sent to Vence, where we lived pretty securely under the Italians. until August 1943. At this point, the German army started to occupy southern France, and we fled back to Nice. Upon the recommendation of our upstairs neighbor, Madame Pinchot, we found a hiding place in another part of town. Again, the housekeeper became the family's lifeline. My uncle, Alav Shalom, was part of the French Resistance movement, was able to furnish us with false identity and food ration cards so that the housekeeper could purchase food on our behalf. We stayed in that hiding place a couple of months, but when it was no longer considered safe and the new hiding place would not take children, my parents remembered the help that the convent had offered. They sent the housekeeper to find out if they would shelter my brother and myself. When the answer came back positive, Madame Cuccaroni took us to the convent in October 1943 and registered us as her children so that we would have Italian surnames. My parents claimed that they had prepared me for this forced separation and that I had repeated all night that I would be a good girl if only I could remain with them. I, however, have no recollection of this exchange. I only remember suddenly finding myself alone in strange surroundings. Evidently, the nuns had distracted me while the housekeeper had left the premises. My sense of abandonment and fear were immense. I was surrounded by strangers and introduced into an alien society. Gradually, I began to blend in with the other Catholic orphans, learning their religion and their way of life. I did remember my mother's warning never to tell anyone I was Jewish. However, I found it extremely difficult to be constantly pretending. One day I decided I just had to reveal my real identity to my best friend Louise. After confiding to her that I was really a Jewish girl in hiding, I became extremely frightened, fearing that she would report me to the Nazis. But fortunately, the episode passed without incident. For 4 months, I did not see a member of my family, not even my brother, who had been taken to another part of the convent. At the end of January 1943, my mother decided that she just had to see us at all costs. The housekeeper brought her to the convent where she had an audience with the Mother Superior to ask her for help in hiding the rest of our family. Notre Mère, a very kind and gentle woman, found a hiding place for my father with a retired French consul, Monsieur Pébert, who was already hiding another Jew. For my mother, grandmother, 2 aunts, and a cousin, she made use of an old building on the premises and set them up for 8 months till the end of the war. The housekeeper kept in touch with the family. She supplied my father with his monthly ration coupons by mail, pasting them between the pages of a children's book and addressing the package to the household manager of the consul. We lived underground through the entire Allied bombing and invasion with very little to eat. But survive we did. In October 1944, without any difficulties, the nuns returned us to our family. In Nice, we found our apartment completely empty, for everything had been removed by the Germans. Gratefully, our immediate family had been saved. My experiences during the war were emotionally very painful. However, I owe an enormous debt of gratitude to the Chasidei Umat HaOlam, the righteous Gentiles, who risked their lives in order to help us save ours. Their valor has greatly influenced my own outlook on life. for it has personally shown me that as much evil and horror exist in the world, goodness and selflessness can also be found. It is our job to look for it and to foster it in others. May we be worthy of this blessing. As a postscript, I want to add that the housekeeper, Madame Cuccaroni, was honored by Yad Vashem in 1979 for her role in saving Jews during the Holocaust. Thank you very much, Hank, for giving me the opportunity to tell my story.